Good evening, everyone. My name is Sanjay Patel, and I am part of the Human Rights Watch Toronto network that has organized this event today. First of all, I'd like to welcome you all this evening, and before we begin, I just wanted to give a few words of introduction. Human Rights Watch is the largest human rights organization based in the United States. It currently has 150 professionals monitoring human rights conditions in 70 countries in the world. Human Rights Watch is known for its unbiased, fact-based reporting. It publishes the results of its fact-finding investigations in dozens of books and reports every year, some of which you'll find outside. This publicity helps to embarrass abusive governments in the eyes of their citizens and the world. Human Rights Watch has been active in Toronto since it opened an office here in 2003. It is staffed by our Human Rights Watch Canadian Executive Director, Jasmine Hurlt, who is right over there, and her associate Leah Scobe, who is also back over there. In the event that anyone wishes to ask Human Rights Watch staff questions, they're more than willing to answer those, as well as members of the Toronto Network. The Toronto Network itself was formed in the spring of 2003, and this group is comprised of young professionals. Our purpose is to increase awareness of human rights issues and to work to expand the protection of human rights globally through education and advocacy. The Toronto Network works closely with Human Rights Watch staff and researchers to support the advocacy work of Human Rights Watch, which is why we're holding an event like this today. The purpose is to engage people in the human rights movement. In terms of advocacy, the Toronto Network most recently focused their energies on troubling provisions of Canada's Anti-Terrorism Act. And among other things, we have also put together a fundraiser, for example, in the spring, which looked at the human rights issues involved with the situation in Darfur. The one other note I want to make before we proceed to the panelists is to inform everyone, including both individuals and the press, that we put together a letter addressed to Prime Minister Harper, which outlines our position on this issue and urges him to act in a way that he hasn't to date. And so hopefully this letter will help assist the different voices out there that are urging him to do something on what we feel is a human rights issue. This is something that will be mailed out to him, and it's available for people to pick up a copy if they wish, and it's located in the front foyer. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the moderator for this discussion, who is Nehal Bhuta. He is an associate professor at the University of Toronto Law School and a former Human Rights Watch researcher. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sanjay. Just a couple of quick administrative matters. Some of you may know it's Ramadan at the moment, and some people who may be observing Ramadan. To those of you who are Ramadan Kareem, there are arrangements that have been made for you if you wish to take iftar. You should exit the room at the time and turn left and go all the way to the end of the corridor and turn left again. There's a room C, which has been set up in which you can pray, and there's a modest iftar there. And there are also washrooms on the way if you wish to bathe. Well, thank you for the opportunity to moderate the panel. I think it's fair to say that it's almost uncontestable now that Guantanamo Bay military facility has attracted universal condemnation across the world as a site of extraordinary human rights violations, abusive interrogation, seemingly indefinite detention, and now the beginning of unfair trials. It's a facility which has proved ultimately highly ineffective in achieving most of the goals that were claimed for it. And I think it's notable that in spite of the claims of the necessity of such a facility, numerous terrorism trials have proceeded to date with full protections of procedure in the United States. So Guantanamo Bay, I think, has become sadly something of an icon of everything that has gone wrong with the United States war on terror. And this affects Canadians directly through the case of Omar Khadr, a Canadian national who's been detained there now for 5 years, since the age of 15. Our panelists today are eminently qualified to discuss the case of Omar Khadr, But something that's distinctive about his case, and something that resonates with me as an Australian, is the contrast in the treatment of Omar Khadr with the treatment of other nationals of American allies that have been held in Guantanamo. Omar Khadr, unlike David Hicks and unlike numerous British nationals, has not benefited from much support from his government, indeed from almost no support from his government. And that's resulted in the strange fact that he remains the only citizen of a country which is closely allied to the United States, whose country has failed to take measures to get him out of detention and to ensure that he does not face an unfair trial. The panelists today have a range of expertise. We have two attorneys who act for Mr. Khadr and who are intimately involved with his case and who have personally travelled to Guantanamo in defence of his case. We also have a Human Rights Watch researcher and an expert on international humanitarian law. So the format of the evening will be that each person will speak for around 10 or 11 minutes, and we will have the rest of the time for questions and discussion. So I'd like to begin by introducing Lieutenant Commander Bill Kuebler, who is a military defence counsel with the military commissions and who acts for Mr. Khadr at Guantanamo Bay. Now, Mr. Kuebler is a native of Phoenix, Arizona, and he was commissioned as an officer in the Judge Advocate General Corps in 1999. He's had an extraordinarily strong career as Judge Advocate General, having served as the head of the branch in the United Kingdom until 2003. And part-time also as military prosecutor and a special assistant U.S. attorney. In December 2005, Lieutenant Commander Kuebler reported to his current assignment as defense counsel with the Office of Military Commissions in Washington, D.C., where he's been detailed to military commission cases of Hassan al-Shadri and Omar Khadr.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I want to begin by thanking Human Rights Watch for sponsoring this evening's panel. Hopefully you can hear me without the benefit of the microphone. And for its engagement on Omar's case. HRW publishes on its website one of the best, I think, summaries of the case and some of the more significant legal issues, particularly with respect to Omar's age, that are implicated by the case. And so I would commend that to all of you. I'd like to spend my 10 or 11 minutes just talking sort of briefly about the factual background of Omar's case and some of the principal issues relating to the military commission process that Omar is facing. Omar, as was noted, I think at the outset of the introduction, turned 21 years of age today. He has now spent over a quarter of his young life detained in Guantanamo Bay without trial and, frankly, without the prospect of a fair trial. Omar is a Canadian citizen by birth. He was taken from Canada to Pakistan and Afghanistan at an early age, moved back to Canada for a period of time as a child, and then was returned to Pakistan and Afghanistan. According to government allegations, starting at the age of 10, Omar's father took him to various al-Qaeda training camps and began to introduce him to senior al-Qaeda leaders. Again, according to government's allegations, this pattern and process ultimately led to Omar's being placed in combat as what we would, I think, all in other circumstances clearly call a child soldier at the age of 15. At the age of 15, in July of 2002, Omar was alleged to have been involved in a firefight in Coast Afghanistan in which he was shot and critically wounded. In the course of that firefight, Omar is alleged to have thrown a hand grenade that killed a U.S. soldier. As a result of these acts, Omar has been charged with war crimes to be tried by military commissions. Now, briefly on U.S. military commissions, there's a great deal of confusion about why these proceedings exist and what their real purpose is. By way of background, after 9/11, the United States government embarked on a fundamental change of policy with respect to how it dealt with the threat of international terrorism. A premium was placed and a priority was placed on intelligence gathering. An elaborate legal framework was developed to essentially justify the indefinite detention